Hello, welcome to our vlog. Today we're going to answer 2 questions.
Yep, and John isn't going to jingle any change.
Nope.
So we're going to talk about minor gods today, and kind of how they fit in science cosmology and what you would do with them in various situations. We have 2 questions. The first person says, let's talk about Pan. The Scion books treat him as a Titan allied antagonist. What do you guys think about that? Is being picked on and made fun of for being ugly enough to send a god over to the dark side?
The Scion books are so horrible.
Not all parts of the Scion books are horrible,
They're
because
horrible.
we love Scion. But in this case of Pan, his handling is really, really strange in the books. And it deals heavily with the idea that he was syncretized with the Christian Satan. And
But you know what? So was everybody.
yeah, I mean, if you're going to make Pan the devil, you got to make Huitzilopochtli the devil, and
Loki.
Tezcatlipoca the devil, and Loki the devil. Like, it's a never-ending road. You don't want to go down it. And to be fair, the syncretization with Pan is a really late medieval thing. It doesn't really have anything to do with Pan, who has an ancient worship that predates a lot of the other Olympians anyways. It's just one of the silliest things. So we would suggest not doing that with Pan.
Yeah.
If you want to make him a Titan, do it for a good reason, not because he's the devil. John actually has a lot of thoughts about Pan, because we saw a lot of Pan in Greece.
We did.
We were in Athens.
Definitely saw a lot of Pan in Greece. We will link a great picture in the comments, or no, not the comments, the place where we link pictures, about Pan trying to hit on Aphrodite, because it looks like Cupid shot him with an arrow. Or I guess arrows. Shot him with an arrow to make him love her, although he'd probably love her anyway. But, and then she's beating him in the face with a shoe.
I think we've actually put it on the blog before.
We definitely
we love it, so we'll put it on there again.
No, it's great. Pan actually, in Athens, looks like through their art and sculpture is very, very important. Much more important than we saw probably in some of the other Olympians. Like, we saw more Pan than I think
Apollo,
almost
for
anybody.
example.
Yeah, more Pan than Apollo. More
Yeah.
Pan than
And this is in Athens. It's not like we're in a pastoral worship center or anything.
Right.
Athens is not the area you'd expect Pan to be a big deal, and he was still a big deal.
It was still a big deal. You don't expect a lot of the big king gods there. Yeah, they're temple to Zeus, but they didn't have a lot of statues of them. But definitely a lot of statues of Pan.
Yeah,
a lot of Pan worship.
We've actually been talking about making Pan a Legend 12 god, just because he's, from what we saw, he was huge, and we had already kind of been on the line with him, because he's already got enough stuff going on that he would maybe Legend 10 or 11. He's got, huge numbers of myths. He's involved in the slaying of Typhon. He's involved in his contest with Apollo. He's involved with seducing the moon goddess. He does like a barrel of things in Greek mythology already. So we were already kind of considering him probably like Legend 11 territory, and we're thinking he's probably Legend 12 and ought to be a playable parent.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably going that direction, not the devil, because one of those directions makes sense.
But he definitely could be a Titan. And the next part of the question deals with that. It asks,
does ugliness really, is that something being picked on for being ugly? Is that something that could make a god go Titan?
Right.
And I think it is something that could happen. Titans have a lot of motivations for why they're opposing the god, and it depends from figure to figure, but especially among the Dodecathion, who have a serious emphasis on physical perfection and physical attractiveness. Like, they're people who, because their whole thing is we want to be the pinnacle of excellence in every area, they're people that are not very kind to people, who are not attractive or not skilled. And Pan kind of comes out on the short end of the stick in a lot of those areas, because he's animalistic and he's not good to look at, and he doesn't, win at competitions of skill. So despite being a very important god, he's kind of, it's easy to see why he'd be looked down on by a pantheon that doesn't value the things that he does. And he's also a figure that represents a lot of kind of primordial pastoral stuff. He's an earthy figure. He's kind of an old school fertility god, and that is often associated with chaos, or at least not with being part of the upper echelon of the Dodecathion's political power structure. So he could easily be part of a Titan under those circumstances and for those reasons.
Yeah, he's definitely fits in the category of old enough, but I don't know if he fits into a category strong enough to be a Titan. Like, I don't know if he's... Titans are generally very easy to pigeonhole into a role, something they do. I could see him maybe in a fertility Titan realm as the wild growth to Kronos' cultivated growth. But I think there are stronger figures for that concept.
I agree.
And so he's probably better in a actually just a Legend 12 god who is not on Olympus capacity.
Yeah,
Your
and I
Hecate
mean,
type.
Exactly. And when he interacts with other Titans, he does not come out looking great. Like, he's a guy that turned into a fish to hide from Typhon. He doesn't seem like the same kind of primordial power figure.
Yeah.
So I would say he's probably a Legend 11 or 12 god, and maybe he doesn't get to hang out with the Olympians. Maybe they're kind of douchebags to him. But that doesn't mean he can't be. Especially when you have gods that are antagonistic kind of to this established pantheon, that can make it more interesting to use in plots and stories.
Yeah.
Especially if you have PCs get involved with them. We did a lot of stuff with Pan because we had a Scion of Hermes who was his brother, and he was a lot of fun. Caused a lot of problems. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have a second question. And it's from someone who just asked simply, have you ever considered making Nanna a playable goddess? And Nanna is, of course, Baldur's wife in Norse mythology. And Nanna is a figure that actually we have not ever considered making playable. And there's a really simple reason for that. And the reason is that Nanna doesn't do anything and almost doesn't exist as a goddess.
Well, I want to backtrack. We've considered making everyone playable.
That's true.
Like, we always consider everyone. But then we research and find out that there is no... Nanna has nothing.
Now, Nanna appears in Norse mythology, but she has only one job, and that's being married to Baldur. She doesn't do anything. She isn't really described in any way, except passingly as beautiful.
She's either just a normal person, or a hero, or maybe a demigod when Baldur and Hod are demigods. But even that, we don't know her parentage, or there's nothing important about her.
And that doesn't necessarily disqualify her, because a lot of the ladies in the Norse mythology don't have parentage spelled out. You know, we don't really know who Sif's parents are, who Frigg's parents are. But in the case of Nanna, she appears in lists of goddesses. So you know she's listed as a goddess, but she doesn't have any connotations. She doesn't have anything that she does. If you were trying to give her associations, there's just nothing to give her. There's... The Scion books in Ragnarok actually mention her, and they say, you know, we set Nanna as a moon goddess, but there's no justification for that in mythology. We're basically doing it because we wanted to put her as an in-between between Baldur as the forces of light and Hod as the forces of darkness. But it's just it's a writer invention. So there's really, if you want to make her suit her mythology, the very best I could see her being would be a Legend 9 goddess with maybe appearance associated, and that would be about it. There's just nothing to do for her. So while she's interesting, and you can use her in your games, and maybe she'll even go up in Legend when you do, she's just not anywhere close to the same ballpark as most Norse mythology figures.
She's not interesting. She's really boring. There is nothing going on there.
She dies a tragic death with her husband, but like a lot of Norse goddesses, she's about being a good wife and a good mother.
But she does that in the future, and not...
That's true, she hasn't even done it yet.
She's done nothing to this point. She's gotten stolen and kind of, you know, been a bitch to Hod. And that's about it.
Yeah. That's true. She does have the story of Hod and Baldur fighting over her. But again, that's a story about Hod and Baldur fighting over her. It's not a story about her.
She could be a lamp.
It
could be the story of Hod and Baldur fighting over a lamp, and she'd get the same amount of screen time.
Yeah, pretty much. So, while we enjoy using Nanna in our stories, and we have given her certain connotations based on what she's done in our stories, from a basic myth point of view, there's nothing going on there.
No,
she falls into a category with a lot of Norse goddesses that are just a name in a list.
Yeah, except she's worse. Sif, like, does something sometimes.
I don't know, I disagree.
And was worshipped at one point.
Sif was worshipped, that's true. But she also, I mean, she has the same issue where she's just an object in stories.
Yes.
That dudes do things with and to.
She says things.
Yeah, that's true.
She has lines.
She does have lines in Lokasana.
Plus 1 point.
But does she ever kill herself dramatically? Minus 1 point.
Ah. Nanna hasn't done that yet.
But she will do it.
Maybe.
Sif will not. As far as we know.
Yeah.
You see, this is the problem with Norse goddesses. They don't do anything. So you kind of have to... You can use them in stories and make them interesting, but they don't come interesting out of the box in most cases. Yeah. You have a few exceptions. You know, Freya is super interesting, but a lot of them aren't, so... And I think that's everything that we had today.
Yeah. This was a slow week.
It was. Sorry about that, everybody.
It's not like we just picked things that I guess were quick to answer. To summarize... Pan's doing a lot of things. He's got a ton of stories. He should probably be a god, maybe a titan, but not Satan.
Yes. No.
Nanna is doing nothing. Basically has no stories, and will never really be a like important statted out goddess.
Yeah. So there you have One Direction gods that should be more important than they are, but because of pop culture are not, and gods that are more important because of their associations with other people, but really by themselves aren't important at all.
Yep. Nanna's really just like Baldur's relic.
That's sadly true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a follower that he has.
So on that exciting note,
woo!
We will leave you until next week.
See you next week. Next
Thanks,
week,
everybody.
we will discuss the crafting system, and I will talk on length about it.
Yes. So look forward to that if you're disappointed in us this week.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.